going to get started here. I know we got some folks that have joined us early on, and we're going to have people kind of trickling through. I'm sure as people kind of discover this and we share it across our networks, we'll definitely be able to bring more people in here. But we're excited to talk about Core and the drop on iOS that happened technically last week, but we got it going out this week. So let's do a quick round of intros. So, there's probably a few members here from the Avalabs team that, maybe haven't been introduced in kind of other spaces or in other kind of Avalanche focused conversations. So we definitely want to give them a moment to kind of give a quick intro on what they do and how they've supported the efforts on Core. So Akash, let's kick it off with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do for Core.
Sure. Happy to. Nice to meet everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm a director of product across Core Properties. Kind of work across all our consumer-facing applications, Core across extension, mobile, web. We had a lot of exciting developments going on in that front last year. Also, one of the areas that I work across the consumer space is the bridges and explorers and sort of our SDKs across. So everything that's consumer-facing on the product side right now is sort of where I'm sort of leaning in, and we have an amazing team behind me as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd like to kind of hear more from your team and let them kind of talk about their specific functions. So Mike, I'll let you go next. Tell us a little bit about what you do for Core.
Hey everyone, I'm a product manager on Core. I manage the browser extension and Core mobile teams, so been involved for about a year when we started building these things, and excited to kind of share my experiences with all the folks on the call.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. And then Todd, you want to give a quick intro?
Hey, yeah. So I'm Todd. I just I lead the UX team. So across Core Mobile, Core Web, browser extension, pretty much everything product design.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to dive into kind of the design aspects of this as well, because that's a really important piece of this product.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And then we also have Dan. I hope this works this time. You got it.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me now. But my name's Dan. Work with the business development team. Do a few things, but with Core specifically helped out with a lot of the integrations and getting support from product to individual dApps and teams so that people get the application in their hands.
Yeah, excited to have you on too, because I think that's a part that kind of goes unnoticed a little bit. Is you can build a product as as great as you want it to be, but it needs that integration, those implementations across the network that really helps. So we're going to dive into it. Excited to. We're just going to put this 1 second, get this gaming account up here. Akash, I'm gonna start off with you. So let's talk a little bit high level. Core browser extension came out kind of earlier last year, and then we dropped kind of Core Web. But a lot of people have been asking about mobile, right? We had the Android one come out earlier this year. So from a high level, like what was like some of the challenges that Core Mobile was trying to solve with other wallets? Like what are some features that really kind of set this particular product apart from others?
For sure. Thanks, Kyle. Just before I get into that, I just wanted to say I'm obviously thrilled and honored to be standing before all of you all here, and wanted to congratulate the entire team, give kudos to the entire team that basically stands behind this amazing launch. There's an army of folks that are working across, and I did want to express my heartfelt congrats and gratitude to every team member who stands behind me. Their tireless efforts, ingenuity, and teamwork has made this achievement possible. So, they've been working relentlessly to overcome a bunch of challenges that have enabled us to even reach this moment to even talk to everyone here. So it's I did want to just express that first. So for anyone listening, this one's for you. In terms of the iOS release, right, I think it comes at a key moment. So far, we did sort of launch 2 out of our 3 properties last year. In fact, we launched all 3, but there was one only on Android. And iOS comes at an interesting time, and we did face some legal sort of headwinds with Apple that Mike can talk about a little bit more. But so far in 2023, you've seen that the Core extension has seen a lot of growth, right? 34% growth in numbers in terms of unique weekly users, tweets. We've seen that folks are asking for more, using it, coming back. An interesting fact here also is that people are sticky with the products. Those who stay, we're actually seeing high retention numbers. And BTC.B, which is Bitcoin bridge to Avalanche using Core, has grown a lot in 2023 itself. I think it's grown over 20%, surpassing the number of Bitcoin on the Lightning Network. So the release of Core Mobile actually for iOS brings Core to the fingerprints of 1 billion plus users. We've been trying this for a while, and it's giving them easy access to Core's features and enriching the Avalanche ecosystem. In terms of challenges, we were noticing that the core product suite, while it was complete, there was still a little bit of left to kind of give our community, give our users, and there were certain challenges in the Web3 space. And in general, the challenges were around, fragmentation, right? So we noticed that when, you want to go and check your assets and you want to look at prices, you go on CoinGecko or CoinStats and you download an app and you kind of like go there and see everything there. And then when you want to actually connect to dApps and Zapper and you want to bridge assets, you go to Zapper, Azarian, and so on and so forth. You have to kind of flounder around between a bunch of different dApps. So we thought of we thought of a way in which we can actually provide an end-to-end experience where users can come in and just see everything in one place, right? Kind of like your one-stop shop or your home. And that was a challenge we were actually looking to solve, right? We wanted to sort of jump these loops of fragmentation and provide that entire experience in one place. And with sort of the other assets and properties already out there from a product standpoint, we wanted to build that uniformity. Today, when you are in this industry, you see a lot of folks being extremely scared about the kind of products you're releasing and about whether it's legitimate or not. So providing that uniformity, that consistency across Core Mobile, Core Extension, as well as Core Web was really important to us because having all three put together, there aren't any other players that actually truly do this in a very, very good way. We see people have one out of the three assets or two out of the three, but there are very, very few people who actually do all three really well. And that was sort of our aspiration and our goal to actually solve for those challenges around device fragmentation, around dApp fragmentation, and being sort of the trailblazer in terms of how do you sort of be user focused first.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the key elements too, is that how it fits into this larger suite of products, how you can use Core Web for some of the portfolio tracking and some of the other like navigating the ecosystem of these different chains. And I think that that helps a lot. But Core Mobile is a key piece of this, right? And like you said, getting this into the hands of potential another billion users through iOS is super important. And so based on kind of the previous landscape of other mobile wallets in particular, right? Are there any kind of features or just experiences that you wanted users to have that can then showcase why this wallet is kind of the next generation for crypto and for custody?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think Core offers more than peers and offers it across a variety of their favorite devices, and also does it pretty elegantly. And I can kind of talk about why we went down this direction. So obviously self-custody of your assets so that you're the sole owner and you're not dependent on anyone else is a big thing that we wanted to ensure, right? You want to make sure you're not dependent on any sort of third party, like with all the incidents that happened last year. I don't really need to get into it. Another thing was, actually making sure that things were native, right? So I don't know if everyone knows this, but Core is like the easiest place to actually access the Avalanche bridge. We have in-app bridging, we have Bitcoin bridging, we have native bridging. And we noticed that a lot of our users, our community was actually asking for this and using this feature a lot. So, Core Mobile is basically the only wallet to offer the Avalanche bridge where you can seamlessly bridge native BTC as well as ETH and participate in Avalanche's growing ecosystem, right? And move from one app to another, or one dApp to another. So this was again, a thing that other sort of products out there, the mobile apps did not have, and we sort of put the end user first and thought, okay, let's see what people want to use it most for, right? They want to do something and take advantage of Avalanche's ecosystem and its sort of fast finality. So we built it around that, and that's something that's gotten a lot of traction, and we can clearly see that in terms of the bridged BTC. The watch list, of course, was a really important feature that we thought about, right? We wanted to use Core's silky smooth UI and a portfolio watch list to build to have built-in security features. and just manage your crypto in a breeze, right? So you want to make sure that folks can come in and quickly see price movements, real-time changes through the watch list feature. You don't have to kind of move around and look at our other apps out there to see what price changes are actually happening. You could also favorite these and get alerts and so on and so forth. So in addition to that, I think the last thing, which is just subnet support, right? I think support for native tokens and Avalanche and native subnet support was super important. We wanted to allow folks to just jump into Avalanche's ecosystem fast with preloaded subnets like DeFi Kingdoms that basically come exclusively with Core, right? You don't need to sort of flounder around and just use different and add these things in a custom sort of manual way. You can seamlessly add and switch between your favorite networks. So that's sort of like core to the Avalanche's ethos, and it's sort of built around subnets as well. And providing that native support, providing that ability to do that at your fingertips within the iOS experience was something that we thought deeply about before building this. So those are sort of the 4 or 5 things across custody, across bridging, across watch lists, across security, across subnets that we thought about before building the first version and launching it on iOS.
Amazing. Yeah, all those things I think really tie in well together. Yeah, some of the things you mentioned, like even the fact that now the BTC.B supply is over 9,000 Bitcoins and it's like exploding exponentially, but being able to have the capability to bridge that in a mobile app, I think is really key to some users' experience where they do a lot of that work on their mobile devices. So that's definitely, I think, one of the key elements like that you mentioned. And so going into that, I'm going to kick this over to Mike, because one of the things that you mentioned earlier that was really interesting is like kind of the challenges that go into submitting an app to Apple, and what are some of the processes that you have to go through and decisions that you have to make. So yeah, Mike, if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about the process of getting Core for iOS approved by the App Store, any challenges you face, maybe some trade-offs that you had to make just with this particular version that's coming out, that came out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kyle. So believe it or not, we actually submitted the first version of the app back in early September. We kind of anticipated that it was going to be difficult to get through the store, just through the learning of different crypto apps that had been submitted to the App Store. And we went back and forth with them on that review. And I think probably the biggest challenge that we had was, I think a lot of the reviewers at Apple, they're trying to do 2 things. One, they're trying to understand crypto. I think a lot of them maybe don't have that base level of understanding of what it means to have a crypto wallet or what a blockchain address is. And then 2, they operate in so many different countries. So I think their legal team set these guidelines out so that they could navigate a lot of the different rules and regulations in the countries that they operate in. So when you submit an app to the App Store, you get a random reviewer and they interpret the rules as best they can. And in the first case, it seemed we had somebody who didn't really understand what it meant to have an account. We kind of got hung up on, well, hey, if somebody creates a blockchain address in your app, you're gonna have to allow them to delete it. Which as you know, you can't really. Once you have a blockchain address, you can't really delete it. And then we went back and forth on payments and NFTs as well. After a couple months of going back, or actually about a month and a half of going back and forth with them, we finally got the approval around Thanksgiving. And we put out like a soft release version just to do some more production testing before the official marketing announcement. I think actually maybe some of the people on this call might have found it and said, "Hey, is this?" We had downloaded it in the App Store as we were releasing the browser extension and updating that app. And then we had some bug fixes, performance enhancements that we had put out in a new version. And anytime you submit a new version to the store, no matter how small the code changes may be, you go through another review process. And in that second review, before the official announcement, which we had originally planned to release with the Android app at the end of December. They came back and said, "Hey, you can't release this app." So we ended up taking that soft release version down, and since Thanksgiving, we're going back and forth with them on the various points. When we resubmitted, we actually resubmitted a new version of the app. We took the old one down. It seems like we got a new reviewer, and they were more hung up on the payments piece. So actually you'll notice the Android app has the buy functionality, which you can use MoonPay to go and purchase Avalanche and Ethereum but the iOS, we had to remove that feature. The iOS version, we had to remove it. So that was one of the trade-offs we had to make. And I think even as we stand today, there's going to be risk every time we release a new version that we may or may not get a reviewer who interprets the Apple App Store laws and guidelines a certain way, and we may have a delayed version in the future. So I just think that's something to be mindful of. If you guys are in the Core app and y'all are using it in the Core mobile app, and you find some bugs and it may be a little bit of time before we have another release, just be mindful of the fact that the App Store review is kind of a bear to get through.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that all down, because I know that the team had gone through many iterations and versioning and finding the right format to get this through. So I'm glad we finally got it out there. And really looking forward, like you said, to the kind of the feedback and that loop of what can be fixed next. And then, we'll see what gets into the next versions. And yeah, I know you guys are working really hard to push that out. So I actually wanted to kind of kick it over to Todd now, because one of the things that is what I love most about this app is just kind of the ease of use, the simplicity of finding things or how things are displayed. And so as the kind of one of the lead designers on this, I just kind of wanted to know, how did you approach designing this? Did you look at other apps?
Yeah.
Were there certain things that you got inspiration from? Love to kind of hear some about your decision making there.
No, yeah, thank you. I just want to thank you for having me on. I could talk about this stuff all day, so I'm super excited. So yeah, there's so much that went into designing the UI. Like you said, we do look around. We look at as many apps as we can and try to grab inspiration off of, like, not necessarily just Web3 products, but also like Web2 apps that you use every day. So I could kind of walk through the process. There's like a process that I try to use called design thinking. It's kind of a framework, and I could quickly, like I said, I could talk about this stuff all day. I kind of nerd out, but basically, just to kind of walk you through it, like, high level, we kind of go through this cycle, and it's a continual thing, right? When we get to the end of it, it kind of starts over, and we just keep kind of refining the design. And where we start is we really try to understand users, and we really try to understand, like, the problems that they're having or the problems that we're solving. We want to make sure we're, like, actually giving you guys something to use that's actually useful and solves the things that you want to get done, if that makes sense. So we do a lot of studying, right? We look at data, we reach out to users, we talk to people, and try to get as much information as we can before we even start to ideate, like, or start to, like, create concepts. We try to really, really understand those problems and issues that people are having. From there, we really try to generate as many ideas as we can, and we try to get, like, crazy. Like, I try to push the team to, like, come up with innovative solutions and crazy ideas. Like, there's nothing that's, like, out of bounds. And so we try to get as many ideas out as we can, and from there we kind of we'll kind of decide what is going to be the best solution. And maybe it's not necessarily just one, right? We'll go through and flesh out a couple different concepts, all the way through, like, high fidelity prototypes. And from there, we try to test, right? We'll try to get it in front of experts. Like in the company, we have a lot of experts that we'll try to talk to, and then even outside the company, sometimes we'll be able to talk to users and run them through different processes and make sure like that it actually makes sense. And depending on how it goes and the solution that we want to like push forward with, we'll hand it off to devs, right? And the entire time we're checking in with like a cautious team and Mike's team, just making sure that we're all aligned through this entire process. And then once we give it to the devs, they build it right, and it gets into the user's hands. And this is like one of the most important parts is just the feedback that comes in, right? And I would just make a huge plug right now for feedback, right? If you're using this and you see something that you're like, man, that's kind of weird, or something that you actually love, or something that you would love to see, please let us know. That is so valuable, and we really do take that into account when we are making design decisions and product decisions. It's so valuable. So please hit us with that feedback. And then I guess I would just like close on the answer. Sorry, it's kind of a long-winded answer, but just saying like I love using that framework because it really addresses real users. It's not just like our assumptions. It's real people, and it just encourages us to be innovative and keep pushing, where we come up with so many solutions for even just the same problem.
Yeah.
So that's sorry,
that's good.
Kind of long-winded, but
I think it's really great for people to hear kind of, these things don't just happen, right? There's a process that they go through, and like you said,
right.
this is an ongoing process. So, like for example, if anybody here wanted to provide feedback or to share some of their experience, whether it's good or they want something to kind of change a little bit, like what's the best way for them to get in touch with the team to provide that feedback?
That's a good question. I guess Akash or Mike, what would be the preferred way for you guys to get this feedback?
I'm happy to take that. So I think we have a stellar product support team, and stellar product documentation as well. We link that within Core. So if folks have any questions, or they want to put in requests or feature requests or bug reports, right, they can actually just go to a link, and happy to put that into the notes or comments of this space as well. So we actually get that a lot, and we look at it pretty much every couple of days. Fortunately, we haven't been getting a whole lot of bugs in general, just because we did a lot of internal testing prior to this with our quality assurance teams and our product testing teams. But there are always blind spots, and there's something that might come around. So if you do have it, I'll paste the link, and you could always use that as a way to get in touch with us.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you can always DM the Core account and DM people here on this call. But yeah, we'll post that up here shortly. But Todd, I did have one more question for you. So there's obviously a lot of design choices that are made on whether certain things and how they're displayed or how you navigate between different pages. Sure. What's one of your favorite, I guess, design choices or features that when you were creating it, you were like most proud of, or something that you really like how it turned out?
Yeah. So, man, that's a tough question. I would say from the beginning, like we've just really tried to take these really complicated processes and make them simple. And I feel like something or a company that kind of does that is Apple, right? So that's been a big inspiration for me when I'm making decisions on different patterns or flows. Like love them or hate them, Apple has pretty just easy flows, right? And if you've used your iPhone, typically if you follow those standards when you're developing an app, you'll already know how to use an app just going into it from the beginning, right? I don't know what that was, but
where was that from?
Yeah, I don't know. That was awesome. But that's been something we try to stick to, is just those standards. So like once you get into Core Mobile, you should already know how to use it if you're like an iPhone user or even Android, right? We've used Google Material for part of our inspiration as well. So just trying to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, I love that. That's what's needed, I think, in terms of onboarding people that don't have a lot of experience in using these different types of apps and maybe new to crypto. You got to make it simple for them. Yeah, it's exactly great. So one of the other things that I think is really key to more people using this app and kind of spreading that adoption around is not only does the app have to be great, but it has to kind of be integrated by other platforms, applications, spread throughout the community. So Dan, on the BD side, I wanted to kick it over to you. Like, what are some of the ways that you're looking to help Core grow and be implemented across different applications or partnerships? What are some of the things that you're working on?
One of the things that Nick has said in the past is that Core could be a global access point to all of Web3. I totally agree with that sentiment. I think as you look at the multi-chain future and having that base layer of an activation point, Core is really established for that. So looking at 30 million users with TSM, looking at 25 to 27 million users potentially with Loco, looking at institutional sales, looking at NFT volume trading as a whole being a multi-billion-dollar market, trying to figure out ways that we can ensure with our partnerships that Core does have certain KPIs attached and that it's kind of beneficial. What you might see in the headlines is large names and present, but there are some underlying agreements that our partners do want to grow our applications with us and want that Core to be at the forefront of growth in the wallet space. The wallet space as a whole, as many of us here can attest to, is highly competitive. So as Akash was talking about and Todd was talking about, sleek UI and design, making it really simplified and making sure that the end user doesn't have to worry about any pain points is what we're really going for. And then also this past summer, part of that having to worry about defending the crypto wallet, upfront barriers, having any issues with them, myself and a couple others helped install Core into the majority of the ecosystem applications, such that it could just be one click from a basic library, and you can have Core work with any dApp seamlessly. I think over time that'll also just get smoother and smoother, and honestly, it probably becomes something that you're not even clicking. It's rather just an account abstraction feature or something like that, I have to imagine. But really excited to drive and user growth. I think Core and the properties around Core, there's going to be a really long-term open accessor for Avalanche as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love that kind of like that access point analogy, because in order for that to be the case, things again they have to be simple, they have to be easily understood and usable from the get-go. So yeah, there's a lot of great aspects to this app and how it was built and the features that could be used. But kind of looking forward, and Akash, I wanted to jump back over to you. As the team looks forward for Core Mobile, the Core product suite, what are some of the features that maybe you're looking to add or elevate upon, or what are some of the ways that you think that this is going to continue to grow?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we all kind of want to look forward and see where we can take this product. And it actually takes me to the point where Core is at an interesting stage right now, right? It's no secret to us that we're in the middle of wallet wars, and there are a bunch of different large incumbents in the space. But I do think Core's key product offering now is at a stage where it's equal in terms of features with a lot of the other bigger wallets out there, the MetaMask and Bravies of the world, and so on and so forth. But in addition to that, we also have differentiated features, like I mentioned earlier, right, with bridging, subnets, watch lists, and so on and so forth. So just keeping in mind that we are trying to innovate and are trying to differentiate, and there's just a lot of exciting stuff that's ahead of us as well. In terms of mobile wallets, I think one thing that we forget is the interconnected aspects and the ease of use with the trifecta, as I like to call it, across Core Mobile, extension, and web. Right? Not many other products actually provide that. So we want to actually figure out how we can do cross-device syncing. Right? That's a big area of focus. And in fact, the team was just actually doing this thing the other day around this Vision Quest, which is what would the app look 10, 12 months from now, right? So we obviously have a really bold vision, but a lot of it has to be rooted in reality. So we are trying to make some strides in terms of security enhancements, where seedless onboarding is something that we're noticing it's becoming a growing issue around the community, around actually managing your seed phrases. We want to try to improve that experience and onboarding experience even better, especially with the capabilities we provide, where you can actually do that with subnets. In addition to that, we also are thinking about translation, right? So, right now the app is only available in English. And our community is distributed, it's decentralized, it's sort of building for the globe. We want to actually provide this app in a variety of different languages, just the way we have on Core Web and Core Extension. We want to sort of have that feature parity and that uniformity across all our properties. On more on-ramp capabilities is something that's super important, right? We want to work closely with Apple and regulators to make sure that we can, have access points within Core Mobile itself, where people can move from fiat to AVAX in a matter of seconds. So I think Mike kind of alluded to this earlier around, working closely with Apple, really harnessing that relationship. I don't know if you guys noticed, but about 2 months ago, Coinbase's app was basically revoked, and they weren't allowed to publish new features, and Apple basically stopped them from publishing to the App Store. So, in general, right now, it's a situation where we got to work closely with the sort of the big tech giants of the space. And lastly, I think NFTs are growing a lot, right? Because Core provides that in-app NFT experience where you can actually go in and see all your collectibles and see this beautiful gallery of all your art. We actually want to figure out how to integrate NFTs and aggregate that across a variety of different NFT marketplaces within the app itself. So putting a lot of thought into those as well to see how we can make that experience within, in-app itself, so that folks don't have to go to OpenSea or, Rarible or so on and so forth to actually do whatever they want to do with the NFTs. So, putting the creator at the center of it all, putting the asset holder at the center of it all, and then, being mobile first, because, you don't always have access to your desktop. It should just kind of be second nature, where you want to go and check your asset balances, you want to check your DeFi portfolio, you want to check your NFTs. You don't need to, open your desktop or your laptop, or you can just see that on your iPhone itself. So a lot of exciting stuff in store, and I'm hoping that we can get this to you guys as soon as possible.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of exciting things coming up, and excited to see that vision from the Quest come to life. Yeah, that's, and some of the just things you just mentioned just sound so necessary sometimes. Especially kind of like the aggregating the NFTs from different platforms and marketplaces and stuff like that. I think is really great, and how that all kind of ties into the web experience too. Todd, one last question for you. Any particular features or design things that you're working on for the next iteration of these products?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Akash actually mentioned quite a bit, but like he mentioned, we actually met up this week, flew in from all over the country and had some really exciting talks about kind of where we're headed and some possible features that we're adding. There's some really exciting stuff coming up. I don't know that I can get into it too much there, but just exciting and kind of innovative stuff that I'm excited to work on. So that should be really cool. Like he mentioned, there's a lot of features we're working on bringing over from like the web wallet, cross-device, consistency and syncing, more functionality around NFTs, just making the experience super consistent across every platform is going to be a big focus. And just like I mentioned earlier, just kind of a continual cycle of these things, just where we're continually trying to just innovate and make exciting products and like experiences.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, and one last question for Dan. I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about like that growth and kind of spreading Core around. When you're looking for like potential partnership opportunities for Core, or like looking at ways that different applications can utilize Core, kind of how like the new TSM subnet is going to use Core for all of the payments and rewards and processing, things like that. Like, what are some other ways that you kind of identify partners or opportunities for Core to integrate into other applications?
Yeah, this is going to sound more Web 2, but DAO and MAO are obviously of importance. But also, alignment, thinking on like a larger scale. You mentioned payments, not even just in a digital economy, but I've spoken to many for like in-person payments, upfront POS systems, and then focusing more on the digital economy side of things, looking at loyalty system, reward systems, airdrop systems, figuring out ways that you can kind of give the user another latch or leash into that stickiness feature, that keeps them coming back and keeps them interested about what's next, what's available, what's viable. In the long term, I think the partnerships will be, as Core has more functionality and features, they'll be more focused on specific functions or features that are attached with Core. But the main point is just getting the adoption curve from the early adopters and that smaller left tail portion into the middle tail portion where it's something like my mom or dad download. They've got Avalanche wallets themselves. I set them up a couple of years ago, but getting them something that they can go and typically go buy goods or services with in the long term, potentially with a stable coin or potentially with Avalanche, and then getting into that mass market group.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and I think Core is primed and set up well to tackle a lot of those challenges. All right, so I'm going to open it up for any questions. Akash, I do have one more question for you, but in the meantime, if anybody here has a question about Core Mobile, the iOS app, anything they wanted to know after the first couple of days of the release, please hit the mic button and request it to be a speaker, and we'll bring you up for a couple questions we have here at the end. But taking a step back again, how do you feel like Core kind of fits into the grander ecosystem, or how does the iOS app fit into the grander ecosystem of Core? And anything else that you could share about something else that you think Core can help solve in crypto more broadly?
Sure. Yeah, I think just to take a step back here and talk about where things are going also, right? We all want simplicity, we all want adoption, and sometimes what I realize is we can all be impatient, right, in this space because we're just kind of spoiled with being so tech savvy. And I kind of go back to the three stages of design evolution, right? There's optimism of ignorance, there's the trove of knowledge, and then there's enlightened simplicity, right? People have to kind of go through the troubles and the trove of knowledge to attain enlightened simplicity, essentially. So right now, I do believe that the space is basically hacking through these vines of unexplored terrain to actually move forward and push this space forward, right? We're seeing a lot of evolution in the security space where we want to make sure that we solve for this famous saying in the world of crypto, which is not your key, it's not your assets, essentially. So I think if you really want to solve the user's problems, you got to figure out a way that you kind of are non-custodial but make it really easy for users to onboard and store their seed phrases in a decentralized way where you're not dependent on third parties, essentially. So that's a big area. I feel that we want to kind of expand our feature sets, also our core offerings within, and have a play this like sort of fine dance between blue sky innovation and at the same time thinking about stability and performance. So we want to make sure that as we kind of move forward, we are providing a stable experience. Our chains are working fine and our app is performant, right? I think that's first and foremost the thing that users hate most is like, oh, the app breaks for them. And I think that's something that we want to keep top of mind. And it's just been a few days since we've gone out live to the entire world. So you want to sort of test, improve, iterate, and see how we could go back to the drawing board and see if we need any of these new features to sort of complement this as well. And I do like the example of that Apple interconnected use that you were talking about earlier, Todd. I think when I think of Core, right, we think of it as the biggest offering across Core is sort of your web extension as well as your mobile experience, right? Like Apple did this where they you can kind of open your messages on your iPhone and then also sort of do that on your Mac and go to your iPad and then see what's happening on your Apple Watch. And all this is done in a very elegant fashion. It's accessible across devices and it has enhanced security. So if we actually can take Core to that next step where you don't have to kind of jump between different applications, you provide that stability and performance, that security as well. I do think that we already have a really solid world-class UX, and which is why a lot of folks are moving from existing incumbents like
MetaMask and other wallets are still ready, then we can actually differentiate with this, and I think that with subnets in there as well, as and when subnets grow, we'll actually be able to blow up core even more.
Amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of great points in there too. I like the idea of like the patience around how these things evolve, but also trying to solve the major challenges in a way that helps people going forward that maybe some of the incumbents can't solve from being in the space for so long. So yeah, definitely love it there. Cool. We're just going to give it a couple seconds, see if anybody else has a question about Core Mobile, the iOS app, anything they want to ask about the features, how it was built, technical challenges, anything like that. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap things up for today. But yeah, definitely, if you want to go check it out, we pinned the kind of announcement thread to the top of the channel here. There's a link to go to, if you go to mobile.core.app, there's a link there to download in the App Store or just open your App Store on your phone. Check it out, provide feedback. There's support channels on the Avalanche website, there's support channels on the Core website. You can DM the Core account. You can reach out to somebody on this call. Lots of ways to get involved, but this is just a start for the mobile version of this app, and we're really excited to kind of complete the suite of products, and then it's kind of only developing better and better from here. So yeah, looks like we don't have any particular questions here. I'm sure everyone's kind of just getting started with this app here, and as you know, in crypto, like people use apps for different reasons, and some people use browser extensions, some people use the mobile app, but it all ties well together. So excited to bring this out to the world. Thank you to our guests for joining. Thank you for taking some time away from developing amazing products to take some time to talk with us. I guess Akash or anybody else have any final parting words that they want to share with the community before we hop off?
Well, just stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate everyone's time. Do reach out if you have any questions. We are here for you if you have anything that you want to even suggest. Appreciate it.
I'm going to jump in real quick. If you haven't added Core to your website, please do it. Please do it. Please.
Yeah, super important. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Akash. Mike, thank you so much for taking some time. Todd, love the design. Really excited to see this come to life. And we'll thank you all for joining us today. And stay tuned for some more Twitter Spaces from the Core channel. And have a great rest of your day or evening. Sick. That's where it came from. All right, got it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Good night. Take care. See y'all next time.